Welcome to This Week in Flag Football, folks. This is the show where we bring you flag football action from around the Capital District, including co-ed flag football, adult that is, men's flag football, and this winter, the youth flag football program. As always, folks, I am with my co-host, good friend, and a great commentator, Colin Martin.
Well, that's a spirited introduction. Hopefully AJ appreciates that intro. I know I always do. We had some great games this past weekend. Weather actually held up pretty nicely. A little bit chilly, but for the most part, everything was nice. Last week of the regular season in the men's league, co-ed playoffs started this week. A lot of action to get to. But before we go any further, I know, Frank, you will join me in saying to all the veterans out there, we're taping on a Monday night. Happy Veterans Day to all of those veterans who have served, past, present, and who will be serving in the future. So we salute you, we appreciate you, and we thank you for all you do.
Yeah, you know, especially one thing that I want to mention to the younger crowd out there in their 20s and 30s, you know, now you guys with this past war or two that we've had, get a better understanding of what they really do and how much they sacrifice for our country. And when they come back, you know, there are certain issues that they have to sometimes recover from. And that's why the support is really needed at this time. You know, during peacetime, we don't really kind of follow or really care as much about our veterans. But during wartime is time that we really pick up the pace. And that's why I'm kind of calling out the 20s and 30s to kind of get out there and realize what you and I know.
Exactly. Appreciate it while you have it. Some countries don't have it. So just wanted to get that shout out to the veterans out the way.
All right, so some announcements before I hand it back to Colin with the A Division action from this past Sunday. As always, everyone knows that I've been announcing the winter indoor programs. They will be all starting in January. Okay, we do have our men's co-ed and youth flag football programs, followed by a basketball program for a men's division, and also floorball at the Washington Avenue Armory, which is a different type of floor hockey that maybe you played in gym class. Any information you want on that, please go to our website at www.allamericansportsrecreation.com. I don't want to take up any more time because I can't even tell you some of the exciting games that we had this weekend, but Colin is going to tell you.
Well, let's get right into the excitement, shall we?
Oh.
We shall. The Blaze, 31-12 over palmerautos.com. Gotbeer.com, 20-0 over Samson's 49ers. Good job, Rocco. Renegades, 15-12 over Laney's. That is not a misprint. Renegades pull off the upset, 15-12 over Laney's. Valenti's Panthers, 28-27 over Samson's Fighting Irish. This time, good job, Rocco, close game. What kind of game was this?
Okay, that game, I actually officiated it. It was a huge...
Wait.
Oh, yeah. Maybe I'll get the camera.
Okay,
Hey, we're back. Thanks, Jim Lewis. This game was an absolute big-time barn burner that I got a chance to officiate. And let me tell you, folks, it went right down to the old wire, as they say. And I couldn't be more proud of these two teams in the way they fought against each other.
And that went into overtime, did it not?
I believe it did. We had one of the overtime games. Actually, I'm sorry, folks. The overtime game was another Samson's team that we'll be getting to.
Okay. Stay tuned for that exciting game as well. Moving on with the scoreboard. NEKF Tigers 6-0 over Jiffy Chips. And palmerautos.com comes back with a win over the Samson's 49ers, 26-20. Again, what kind of game was that?
That game was an overtime, big-time barn burner, and that one really went down to the wire as both teams really were battling back and forth. It was a great game. And you know what? I'm going to have to get the insider on because although I officiated these two games, one of them I'm not 100% sure was the overtime game. So we'll get him in here and we'll kind of verify what's going on with those two games.
Okay.
But, you know, those two games actually were very competitive. I just don't know what happened to the 49ers in the first game against Gotbeer. They came out very flat at 9 a.m., and Gotbeer is a team to be reckoned with after watching them.
I think they were outcoached, much like the Dallas Cowboys were last night by the Saints and Sean Payton.
Oof.
I'm pointing that right at Rocco.
Oh, okay.
Or Rocky, as he's called, or Fogham, as he's called. he's got so many different names. I gave him a pass for his birthday last weekend, but that pass is done, over with, and it's been shred. So, Fogum, you're in for it tonight.
He is losing weight, though, so we brought a scale in. We'll be weighing him on the air during the Insider.
Hopefully, he will not be one of those boxer weigh-ins where you have to drop everything. That's just not good.
Nobody wants to see his poison ivy.
I'm throwing up in my mouth right now just thinking with the visual.
Wow.
That's why did you go there?
Take a swig of the mountain.
Let's move into our standings for the AA division. We've got the Blaze wrapping up the number 1 seed at a 9-0 mark, followed by Valenti's, Panthers, GotBeer.com, Renegades, all 6-3. The seedings are going to have to be finalized, so those are not in any particular order, but those are the 6-3 teams, followed by Laney's, PalmerAutos.com, and they're both 5-4. And then we've got Samson's 49ers at 4-5, followed by Samson's Fighting Irish, NEKF Tigers, both 2-7. And then we've got Jiffy Chips at 0-9, rounding out the A and AA divisions. And like we mentioned, with all of the 6-3 teams, we're not sure where the final seeding is going to be. So as of when this airs, just go on to the website and you'll see the final seedings, which have been updated by that time. So the 3, 6, and 3 teams, seedings haven't been finalized yet, but they will be by the time you see this. So just check the message board and you'll be able to see.
All right. Well, there you have it, folks. A division action. We are going to be combining our 2 AA and single A, so it'll be 1 division, and there's going to be 8 teams making the playoffs. We'll discuss more of that when the Insider comes on during the roundtable segment. So in the B division, though, we did have some exciting games to report on. The Bootlegger Predators knock off the Cannon Barrel Pub 26-20. Outstanding game. The Rampage beats the Giuseppe Warriors 18-0. It was a battle of 2 teams that kind of had fast starts, but then really tailed off at the end, and finally the 2 teams battled each other, and it looks like the Warriors really kind of season sunk, and they did not have as much fire in Week 9 as the Rampage. The Vikings whoop up on Kaiser Body Shop 35-zip. Close game. And then in one of the top games of the day, or the game of the day, I should say, the Rugged Rams 19, 41 Sports Bar Titans 12, Colin. That's the Rugged Ram team that we always talk about as being the hottest right now.
Yeah, and they proved me wrong. I did not think they would win this game last week, but good job there. He should have switched over, but, AJ just walked right through the shot, and the director in the control room just let it happen.
Wow.
Yeah, we're just throwing people under the bus. You would think 9 weeks in, they'd have that by now. Yeah. Why bother switching to the 2-shot where AJ can walk clean through? Leave it on your solo shot where he cuts right in front of the camera. Good job. What'd you call him, Jim Lewis in there?
Yeah.
Good job, Jim Lewis. Nice to see you back.
Jim Lewis having a mic problem, but he's better now, okay?
See, now, AJ, you're going to make me get on you. I'm defending you.
Right.
See, I'm saying it was his fault. But since you want to come at me now with your camouflage, don't think that you're going to scare me.
Oh, my goodness. AJ, hey, AJ dressing up in the camouflage is a reflection of Vets Day.
Well, you know what? I don't think that's what it was, but in the spirit of Vets Day, I'll let that go.
Really? You don't think he did that on purpose?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say no.
And when is Thug Day?
That would be every other day. You know what it is? I think it's to scare his kids that he coaches.
Oh.
If he's wearing the camo, that might intimidate them.
The camo, green tech, it all goes together.
It all ties in. Nice.
Shout out to Green Tech, though, up-and-coming basketball program.
Coached by AJ Camouflage Roden. So back to the point before we got sidetracked. I have to give credit to Rugged Rams. I didn't think they were going to win this game. I picked that 41 would get this game and win it. So congratulations to Rugged Rams, and you'll see in the standings what that win does for them.
Yeah, no, it's huge, and right now, playoff-wise, what you want to do is you want to go in to the playoffs playing your best ball the entire season. And certainly right now you would say that the Rugged Rams are one of the top potential Super Bowl contenders, aside from the big gun Forever Bandana that won the division. And then the other team that was very hot at this point, the Aztecs, win 13-6. And after a slow start, they were the opposite of the Rampage and Warriors and really came on strong at the end. So right now, my 3 top teams as far as hotness goes, and we're going to need a pause on that. Predators, Rams, and Aztecs. Look out for those 3 teams come playoff time. But, of course, they still have to deal with the 41 Sports Bar Titans, and they have to deal with the Forever Bandana team.
Something we reported a couple of weeks back. Forever Bandana should win the B division. They're the most talented team, but they will somehow implode. That was, 5 weeks ago we had mentioned that?
Yes.
A source had made that statement. 20 minutes before we went on air, someone else, a different source, almost word for word told me the exact same thing about Forever Bandana. They're the best team in the B division. They're the most talented team, but they have no discipline, and they somehow will self-destruct in the playoffs. Wow. Two separate people give me almost the exact same information. So now we got to put a focus on them and see what happens during their playoff run.
Yeah.
I know when we reported it a few weeks ago, they were on the message board trying to figure out who my source was. I'll never give up my sources, even though he in turn told one of the guys on Forever Bandana who he was. But I'm not going to give up the second source.
No, that would be like me giving up my top massage parlor.
Right, exactly.
You know, I wouldn't do that. You don't give up your sources.
Exactly.
I'm not giving up my back page Albany best numbers.
No, and I'm not going to throw in Carl Patterson and my other source because
No.
Carl said who he was, so it's out there.
It's
they
out
know.
there. It's in
but my
public
second
land.
source, that's a secret.
Oh, okay, that's a secret. I hope she's female. All right, so this the standings now, folks, for the B division. This is going to be a wide open race that I can't wait to talk about on the roundtable. But Forever Bandana, they get the job done, though, go 8-1 and win the division. They also turn out to be the #1 defense with 65 points, and they finish second in offense with 206 behind the Rugged Rams. They get the #1 offense after the regular season. Then the Rugged Rams, of course, 41 Sports Bar Titans, both 7-2, but the head-to-head matchup went to the Rugged Rams. 2 and 3 seeds, Colin, they don't matter.
No, not at this point, because you know what you're getting. You're going to have the teams, I think the top teams are going to sort themselves out anyway. And in the end, they're going to be the ones at the Final Four, I think. So I think you're right. 2 or 3, 3 or 2, it doesn't really matter.
Right. And then, you know, what's interesting is the fourth slot goes solely to the Bootlegger Predators, 6-3, very, very hot team. So if all seeds hold true, you would see the Predators play the Bandana team in the semifinals, which would be a nice matchup.
Yeah. And
okay.
With the Bootleggers team, like you said, they're one of those teams that were sneaking up on people, but they didn't sneak up on them the last few weeks. They were pulling off some big wins, some quality wins, and they earned that 4 seed. So here again, if the Bandana team doesn't come together, this is an experienced team that the Bootlegger Predators team, they may be able to pull off the upset.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we had the Aztecs, Cannon Barrel Pub, and Vikings all finish at 5-4 and do make the playoffs. And then that game we spoke about, the Rampage and Warrior game, that game was for a playoff spot. That's why I'm kind of surprised that the Warriors came out so flat, losing 18-0, because the winner was in, the loser was out.
That's it. And we said that a couple of weeks ago. That loss they had to a team that they shouldn't have lost to could come back and bite them. And as we see right now, it took a chunk.
And then, of course, in the teams that did not make the playoffs, the Warriors, we mentioned, are 3-6. The Bulldogs, 2-7. Philly Grill, 1-8. Kaiser, 1-8. But if you notice, folks, in the standings, everybody had at least one loss and at least one win. So the parity was there. And I want to give a shout out to the bottom 3 teams, because the entire season, everybody showed up. So you had 0 forfeits in the B division, which is good.
And that's what you hope for. I mean, whether the season's going good or if it's a difficult season, you at least want to show up. Everyone's paying their money to have their games. So if not for your own team struggle,
right,
but for the other team as well. They paid the same amount of money. They got the same amount of, they expect the same amount of games. So it's good to see that you guys all showed up regardless of how the season was going.
Absolutely. And that concludes the B division, Colin, with scores and standings. We'll get more into the stories later on. C division action, we had some, I'm not going to use barn burner term. That has to be saved for special occasions, but we had some great games. How's that?
That sounds good. And looking at the scores, there weren't too many close games anyway. So
No.
Let's go right into it. We've got the Avengers, 27-0 over Bootleggers Hurricanes, or excuse me, 27-6 over Bootleggers Hurricanes. Armadillos, 38-18 over Team Gold. Murphy's Mama's Boys, 7-0 over Swag Champs. Dublin's Bootleggers, 6-0 over Scrapers. That gives the Bootleggers the #1 seed for the entire C division in a defensive battle. The only touchdown scored on a pick 6.
Wow.
NWO, 28-0 over Mario's Restaurant. Fuller's Tavern 38-18 over the Bloodline. Side Door Grill Bombers 8-0 over Elbow Room Hawks. CM Fox Realty Falcons 17-14 over the Franchise. Ravens, we have to get a correction on this score. The score says 4-0, but I don't think that's correct over the Kryptonites.
Okay, I just want everybody to know that I did talk to Glenn Posca last night to confirm that this score came in from Greg Durnford twice. He mentioned that it was 4-0. So right now, we're thinking that score is correct.
Wow, that would be a first. I don't ever remember a game with two safeties as the only scoring to happen in the game.
Well, it is a first. We did research that, and you are absolutely correct. 4-0 is unbelievable.
Wow. All right, for my prize for getting the trivia question right, I want the tickets that you gave to Alicia to the Giants and Cowboys.
Oh, did she get them?
She did get them. Only because Lisa said it first. You don't know what's in here, do you? I'm like, no. It says to Talisha from Frank. She goes, it's tickets to the Cowboys-Giants game.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, if you knew, I probably wouldn't be getting this envelope.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you are 100% right. I don't know what happened. I had my window down. It was hot on Saturday, and the wind blew it away.
Unbelievable. But she was a raffle winner. That's the only reason. She's not my
congratulations to T. And remember, who voted you the best female co-ed football player ever?
Ooh. All right.
If you need somebody to go with, let me know.
She may.
Yeah.
Maybe you get the phone call.
Her and Lisa already got it arranged.
It's
so
done.
She's going with Lisa.
It's done.
Doggone it. I wish I'd have known. I wish I was nosy. I would have opened that thing up. But congratulations. Enjoy the game. Go Cowboys if they get their defense fixed. Dirty Birds, 26-19 over Bronx Street Thrashers. That game surprises me. Bronx Street, they've I don't know what it is. Maybe that loss to SOS has affected them more than they thought it would.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, this is their third loss in a row. They lost to the SOS. They lost the previous week, and then they lost last week. So that loss where they thought they were going to avenge, all of a sudden has turned into a 3-game losing streak. So you got to make sure playoff time, we'll know once we get into the standings if they made the playoffs. This may have knocked them out, but we'll see as we get closer, get into the standings.
I think they made it, but they're 5-4 at this point. We'll take a look, like you said, when we get into the standings. But, I mean, they're a class act. You know, Rome went up on the board, and it always congratulates the teams that beat them. But this is the one time that I hate to tell him that I was right and he was wrong, because he said 8-1. I was giving him 6-3, so I was off by a game.
Yeah, he was off by a lot more.
Yeah.
But you still got a shot. If you think they made the playoffs, you don't want to go into the playoffs struggling. You want to go and playing your best ball. And right now, they're not. So hopefully, for their sake, they'll be able to get this turned around and pull off a win in the playoffs.
Right.
And lastly, we've got KDO Burns SOS 20-7 over Dream Team, and KDO Burns wraps up the Schenectady division with that victory.
And before you get into the standings, I just wanted to throw one other thing out there. As always, after each week's games, when I'm turning in the scores, I'm always looking for trends. And aside from the 4-0 game that set a record, we also had one other record set. 10 games ended in shutouts. And
really?
That's remarkable for a week to have 10 games in shutouts. So
wow.
Another one that happened, and I'm not sure why. The weather was actually pretty darn good this past Sunday. It was warm, a little sticky on the grass fields, but certainly not worthy of a 10 shutout week.
Well, that just goes to show some teams came ready to play with their defense, and playoffs are on the line. Maybe it was a seeding that they were fighting for. Maybe it was playoff to get into the playoffs that they were fighting for, but they brought their defense, and that's evidenced by 10 shutouts. So congratulations to those guys who came ready to play. Hopefully it worked out for you and you got your seeding that you were looking for and you made it into the playoffs. One thing I want to correct that I just said, that Schenectady Division SOS won that. They'd actually won that a couple of weeks before.
Right.
They actually clinched the 2 seed in the C Division is what I should have said.
Yeah. And the other trend that we saw that you brought up earlier was talk about a defensive week. Well, that really was the key thing when it came down to that game between, there it is, Dublin Bootleggers and the Scrapers. I mean, no offensive touchdowns were scored in the entire game.
The way I hear it, for you young guys, go check that out back in the archives. That game, it was a defensive game, but they had, Bootleggers, they had many opportunities to score. They had a couple of missed opportunities, one directly in the end zone. The guy dropped a touchdown pass. Another guy broke free and was about to score, dropped another ball. So they had their opportunities to put points on the board. They just missed those opportunities. And to the Scrapers' credit, they kept that game close. After they missed their opportunities, their defense was able to keep them in, but their offense, just for whatever reason, they could not move the ball. What I'm being told was their quarterback had a bad day throwing the ball. I think he may have completed 4 or 5 passes all game long.
Wow.
So the Bootleggers' defense, as we were talking about defense showing up and standing up, they knew what they had on the line. As did the Scrapers' defense, they knew what was on the line for them as well. They could have been the 2 seed. But it didn't work out, but it was still a good defensive battle. 6-0, Scrapers, you got nothing to hang your head about.
Not at all, especially with the regular season final record.
So let's move right into our Albany C Division standings. We've got Dublin's Bootleggers, the only 9-0 team in the C Division. They've clinched the number 1 seed, as we mentioned, followed by the Scrapers at 7-2 with Fuller's Tavern and NWO. Side Door Grill Bombers at 6-3, Murphy's Mama's Boys at 5-4. Then we've got Armadillos and Swag Champs, both 4-5. Then we've got Bloodline, Elbow Room Hawks, the Avengers, and Bootleggers Hurricanes, all 3-6. Followed by Team Gold and Mario's Restaurant at 1-8.
And those top 6 in that division, folks, are all locked into the playoffs, all with a winning record. And then we have to sort out the wild card. But, Colin, I'll let you finish up with Schenectady C.
And congratulations also to Murphy's Mama's Boys. I think I mentioned earlier in the season, I saw them. They just looked so disorganized, like they didn't know what was going on. They fixed it, they righted the ship, and they are making the playoffs with that 5-4 mark. They get the 6th seed out of Albany. So congratulations to you guys. Job well done fixing your issues. Over in Schenectady, KDO Burns. KDO Burns SOS 8-1. They're the number 2 seed in the C Division. Followed by CM Fox Realty Falcons at 6-3. Bronx Street Thrashers and Dirty Birds both 5-4. Followed by Dream Team at 4-5. Franchise and Kryptonites both 3-6. And then the Ravens at 1-8 round out the C Division.
And then we also had a couple trends there. We always like to congratulate the number 1 offense, which turned out to be SOS. The number 1
by
defense
4 points.
went, by 4 points.
Actually, that's not right. Fuller's is 273, and then NWO is 297.
Excuse me. Oh, and going down the usually it's the top teams, but in this case it's not. NWO, coached by Rocco and Wags, get the number 1 offense at 297 as they tried to pile up the points and embarrass their opponents when they could.
I'm just going to say one thing. The team coached by Rocco, Rocky, Fogham, Snowball.
Oh, Snowball's the worst.
If I'm their quarterback, I don't want Rocco referring to me as Jelly.
Oh.
Just throwing that out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
Jelly's
a good
going to
point.
have to change his name if Rocco's behind him.
I call him peanut butter, but we'll see. That's even worse, though, if you have, a dog with it.
Yeah, that's true.
Not good, not good. We got to watch what we say on the air. Beep. Anyway, folks,
Why start now?
It was the NWO 297 on the offense, but the defense was, in fact, Dublin's Bootleggers there at 84 points ahead of the Scrapers. So if the flips on that score was the way it could have been,
the other way around,
you would add the other way around. But that means that those 2 teams are coming out defensively very strong in the playoffs. Watch out for them.
And in the playoffs, you have to play smart. You have to play field position football because your defense will keep you in it, and that will allow you to get in position where you don't have to go the length of the field. You may get an interception. You may hold them on downs. You may put them in 4th and long where they get a short punt, and you get the ball in good field position. The key in the playoffs is to play smart. You don't want to take too many chances where you may in the regular season. Let your defense do what it does. That'll keep you in most of the games.
No, I think that's probably the best advice. It's not so much, defense wins championships, offense does this. It's smart football that Colin just said. Play smart football. We're talking about how you call your game, how you call your defense, your special teams. And like Colin said, that field position, of course, is going to be critical. So you want to make sure you don't put yourself in bad spots.
Right, like Jason Garrett did. Recover an onside kick, go 3 and out in 17 seconds. Not good.
No, not at all.
But I'm
that's
not
a pro.
bitter.
Not at all. Anyway, folks, it's time to get into our playoffs for the co-ed. We had the first round here for the A and B. In the A division, Walrath Recruiting Bunnies 35-19 over Gangrene. Let me make one statement about that game before I turn it over to Colin for the MVP. Gangrene jumped out 13-0, then drove to the 5-yard line of the Bunnies. The whole Bunny team looked like absolute bunny crap. funny crap. Even Jen K, who's one of the stalwarts of that team, said, look, I thought we were absolutely done. They have a goal line stand and then outscore their opponents 35-6 the rest of the way.
You know the secret to that game? Craig Kimbrough wears what number? Do you know off the top of your head?
I don't know.
He wears number 4. Colin Martin wears number 4. And the inside joke between Craig and Colin has always been, who's the real number 4? When the real number 4 showed up, Craig Kimbrough number 4, he knew he had to prove it. So he turned around, and that's where that run came from. Yeah, I'm taking the credit. I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm taking the credit. That's been our debate back and forth, who the real number 4 was. So I say it was me, and he went and saw my arrival, and that's when he turned things around. So good job out of you, CK. Glad I could be your motivation.
All right, we have earpieces. I just got this in from the control room. Black people are superstitious? I thought you guys weren't.
Not usually.
Because that's really superstitious.
Not usually. I'm not superstitious. I'm a realist.
Oh well, you just spun a yarn there, my friend. And you also caught a 22-pound fish the other week.
It was 40.
Oh, 40, all right. Anyway, though, that was a great game by Craig. They didn't even nominate him. I put him in there just after refereeing the game. I thought he was a major difference because he played really well.
That's just selfish on their part. They didn't want to nominate
well,
him.
I didn't even ask. But then Riff Raff, they beat McGeary's Honey Badgers. No real surprise. Maybe the score, Colin, 39-18?
No, that was a very big surprise. That game's 39-18, but it is closer than the score would indicate. You see the notes that I have written in the margin there?
Yes.
It took 2 pick sixes by Guy Rowe to put that game away. They were playing that game back and forth. They were going at them. They did not take a step back. They weren't intimidated. They didn't think they were going to get smashed like everyone else did. And they were in that game for the most part until Guy got 2 pick six interceptions and brought them back to the house, which is redundant because that's what a pick six is.
Right.
But he was the difference maker in that game. That game was a lot closer than 39-18 would indicate. So good job out of you, McGeary's.
Did McGeary's have the lead at all, or were tied at all?
I believe they had the lead. Maybe it was by 1 point or so, but it never was a situation where they were touchdowns ahead or anything like that. But McGeary's were indeed playing that game. They were going toe-to-toe with them. So McGeary's, we said a couple of weeks ago, we gave them props for being how they've developed. That could be a springboard. That's one of those losses that could come back to actually be beneficial for them going forwards, because now people can see that they can play with the top dogs in the league, and they get other people who want to come play with them and maybe push them over the hump. So keep an eye on McGeary's. I mean, they drunk and crazy, but when they're ready to play like they have been the last couple of weeks, they can do it. So I'm a believer in them now going forward.
Yeah, I don't know anything about drunk and crazy.
Yeah.
All right, anyway, folks, I'm glad that they were able to hang in there. And I'll tell you what, I think Riff Raff, after losing to Dell Lanes and then having a little tight one here, a little chink in the armor, if I may.
Really?
Yeah,
Andy?
because I think... What?
Andy?
No! Oh, goodness, that's not what I meant.
Oh, well, usually that is.
But anyway, I think that they're feeling that they're not so invincible, and the Final Four and championship game is going to be a battle for all of those teams.
Yeah, it is not a certainty.
No, not at all, especially Dell Lane's here. Now, this one surprised me. I don't know about you, but they win 37-32 over Dirty Birds.
Surprised that it was as close as it was, but I thought that they would get the win. MVP of that game, Jen Miklik.
All right, and Samsons, they come on strong as the #1 seed and win 28-13 over their crosstown rivals, AGL Renegades.
MVP of that game, Lena Princess Warrior. I see what you did there.
I didn't do that. That was how it came in, believe
That's
it or
not you?
Nope.
Wow.
No idea what it means. I didn't know which one was the last name or what's going on there, but that came from Steve, unless Tony was there.
It could have been.
That's probably it. Okay. Anyway, we don't have a lot of time to go over why it's spelled and written like that, but Silver Bullets win 62-12 over Good Touch, Bad Touch. I get nervous when I say that, folks, because there's a criminal record.
Exactly. MVP of that game, Kareem Faust.
All right. And then Brad Lewis Lawn Care, 34-27 over the Andy Maniacs in kind of a shootout game.
Surprising that it was a shootout.
Yeah.
Andy's You know what? They're a tough luck team, too. Unfortunately, they come up on the short end of the stick here. But the MVP of that game goes to Sarah, Dwight Freeney, Colin.
Nice. And then finally, folks, I'm going to let you know that we'll be back in 2 and 2. I saw Chuck Woolery, who did the show, and a lot of you young people don't understand it,
Google
but he
him.
looks terrible right now.
Really?
Oh, he's doing a commercial for probably AARP when I saw him, and it is bad news. The guy used to get a lot of tail. We'll be back in 2 and 2. We'll see you then.
Reluctant bottom tail?
We'll be back in 2 and... We'll be back in 2 and...
Are we clear?
Two.